everyone, today I'll be teaching you how to make this delicious steak and shrimp surf and turf. This came out beautifully and I can't wait to show you guys, so let's get started with the video. Begin by peeling 4 russet potatoes. Then cut your potatoes into pieces. When you finish cutting up your potatoes, place them in a large pot. Then add water and 1 teaspoon of salt into your pot and bring it to a boil. Boil your potatoes for 10 minutes and then check to see if they're done by piercing one of the potatoes with a fork. When your potatoes have finished cooking, drain the water from the pot. Then mash your potatoes. Once you finish mashing your potatoes, add 4 tablespoons of butter. Stir your butter into your potatoes until it is fully incorporated. While I was mixing the butter into my potatoes, I noticed that my potatoes had a few lumps, so I decided to cream them through a fine mesh strainer. I don't have a potato ricer, so using a strainer was my next best option, and it worked out perfectly. See? That is way fluffier than before. Okay, so after that I placed my potatoes back into the pot. Then, in a small saucepan, I added 1 cup of cream, 2 crushed garlic cloves, and 2 sprigs of rosemary. I mixed all my ingredients together and let it simmer over low heat for about 5 minutes, or until your cream mixture is fragrant. I got the idea to do this from a tasty video I watched, so I wanted to give it a try. I'll have the link to the video down in the description. Then, gradually add your cream through a fine mesh strainer. Make sure to fold the cream into your potatoes until smooth. Once you've added your cream, fold in 1/4 cup of sour cream, 2 ounces of cream cheese, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Once your mashed potatoes are nice and creamy, you can go ahead and set them to the side. Next, we're going to make our steak, and we're going to begin by making a steak rub. In a small bowl, add a half a tablespoon of seasoned salt, or regular salt, a half a tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, and a half a teaspoon of brown sugar. Mix everything together until well combined. When you're finished, set your steak rub to the side. Next, take out your steak. Make sure to take out your steak 30 minutes before you begin cooking it. That way your steak will be at room temperature and it will cook more evenly. Now rub some olive oil all over your steak. Oh, by the way, the steak I'm using is a ribeye steak. When you're finished, add a generous amount of your steak rub onto your steak. Make sure to coat the entire steak in your steak rub. When you're finished, set your steak to the side. In an iron skillet over medium to medium-high heat, add oil. When your pan is almost smoking, add your steak. When you're placing your steak in the pan, place it away from you so you have more control and you prevent splashing any oil onto your arms. This is optional, but you can also add a bit more steak rub onto your steak. Cook your steak for 2 minutes on each side. By the way, if you're not a huge fan of the fat on a steak, you can trim it beforehand and you can sear the fatty side so you can render it. When you flip your steak, add 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter, 2 sprigs of rosemary, 2 sprigs of thyme, and 2 cloves of garlic. Then, once your butter has melted, baste your steak in the butter. When you finish cooking your steak, place it inside the oven at 375 degrees for 6 to 12 minutes. How long you cook your steak in the oven depends on how cooked you want your steak. It'll also depend on how thick your steak is. My steak was pretty thick, so it took about 10 to 12 minutes for it to be medium well. However, if it's a bit thinner, it might take 6 to 7 minutes. Once your steak has finished cooking, take it out of the oven and let it rest for about 8 to 10 minutes. That way it'll become juicier. Next, we're going to prepare our shrimp. Peel and devein 7 large shrimp. Then, in a pan over medium heat, add some butter. Once the butter has melted, add your shrimp. Then season your shrimp. I seasoned my shrimp with Old Bay, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika. Then saute your shrimp for about 4 to 5 minutes. When you finish cooking your shrimp, set them to the side. After you finish cooking your shrimp, we're going to prepare our asparagus. In a large pan over medium heat, add butter. Once the butter has melted, add your asparagus. Season your asparagus with a bit of salt and pepper, and then add a bit of lemon juice. Lemon juice is optional. Cook your asparagus until they are tender and a bit flimsy. After you finish cooking your asparagus, you can plate everything together. And this is the finished result. This came out great, it looks so beautiful. The steak was well seasoned and gorgeous. The mashed potatoes were amazing. They were just packed full of flavor and it was just so creamy and delicious. Those mashed potatoes might be the best mashed potatoes I have ever made because they were so good. I added some garlic butter on top of the shrimp and steak, which just made it 10 times better. The whole thing together was just delicious. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Everything I used in this video will be down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! Hey everyone, today I'll be teaching you how to make this copycat Chipotle steak bowl. I am not joking when I say this tastes just like the burrito bowls at Chipotle. I'm super excited to show you guys how to make this, so let's get started with the video. In a blender, add 1 can of Chipotle peppers with adobe sauce. Then add half a red onion, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 4 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 2 teaspoons of olive oil. Now blend everything together for about 1 to 2 minutes. Then add a half a cup of water. After you've added your water, you're going to want to blend everything together for about 1 to 2 minutes. Next, place your steak in a Ziploc bag and then pour your marinade in that same bag. Close the Ziploc bag and then make sure that your steak is covered in the marinade. After you've done that, place the bag in your fridge for 6 hours or overnight. Now we're going to prep our ingredients while the steak is marinating in the fridge. First, dice a red onion. A red tomato, some cilantro, then shred a head of lettuce, Now we're going to prep our poblano pepper. Cut the stem off, then cut it in half and remove the seeds. Then cut those two pieces in half. Brush your peppers in olive oil. Then grill your peppers skin side down over medium or medium-high heat. You're actually supposed to grill the peppers, but I don't have a grill, so I just cooked it on a pan. Cook your peppers for about 5 minutes or until charred but still firm. Allow the peppers to cool, peel the charred skin off, and then dice your peppers. Next, juice limes until you get a half a cup of lime juice. After you've juiced your limes, cut open and de-seed 2 avocados and place them inside a bowl. Now that we've finished prepping all of our ingredients, we can begin making our Chipotle toppings. We're going to start by making our guacamole. Mash the avocados in the bowl. I like to use a potato masher for this instead of a fork. Then add 1 to 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1/4 cup of diced red onions, 1 tablespoon of diced jalapenos, a half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of cilantro. Mix everything together until well combined. When you're finished, set your guacamole to the side. Next, in another bowl, add your diced tomato, a half a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1 tablespoon of cilantro, 1/4 cup of diced red onions, and 1 tablespoon of diced jalapenos. Then mix everything until well combined. When you're finished, set your tomato salsa to the side. Now we're going to make our corn salsa. In a bowl, add 1 can of corn. Then add 2 tablespoons of your poblano chili peppers, 1 tablespoon of diced jalapenos, 1 tablespoon of cilantro, 1/4 cup of diced red onions, 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, a half a teaspoon of sugar, and a half a teaspoon of salt. Then mix all of your ingredients together until well combined. When you're finished, set your corn salsa to the side. Now shred some mozzarella cheese. When you finish shredding your mozzarella cheese, set it to the side. Now we're going to make our rice. Begin by washing 2 cups of rice. When you finish washing your rice, add 3 cups of water to your rice. Then add 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and 1 bay leaf. Then just let it cook in your rice cooker. Once your rice has finished cooking, place it inside a large bowl. Then add 4 teaspoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of cilantro, and 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Fold your ingredients into your rice until well combined. Now that we've finished making our toppings and our rice, we can go ahead and cook our steak. In an iron skillet over medium-high heat, add olive oil. Once your pan is hot, add your marinated steak. Cook your steak for 5 minutes on each side. Once you've finished cooking your steak on each side, place it inside the oven at 375 degrees for about 6 to 7 minutes. Once your steak is finished cooking, place it on a cutting board and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Letting your steak rest makes the steak juicier. Now all you have to do is chop your steak into small pieces. We finished making the steak so we can finally assemble our Chipotle steak burrito bowl. And this is the finished result. This came out great. It tasted and smelled exactly like a Chipotle burrito bowl. It did take a really long time to make this, but it was totally worth it. The steak was really well seasoned and it tasted really good, and the toppings tasted just like the ones at Chipotle. Oh, and so did the rice. I'm just really happy with how this turned out. It tasted so good. Chipotle is one of my favorite places to eat, so I'm really happy I made this. And even though I know how to make the copycat version at home, I'm still gonna go to Chipotle and eat their burrito bowls. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everything I used in this video will be down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this loaded surf and turf baked potato with a creamy garlic sauce. So let's get started with the video. Begin by cleaning 3 large potatoes and then placing the potatoes on a tinfoil covered baking sheet. Then coat them in olive oil and a bit of salt. When you finish coating your potatoes, place them in the oven at 400 degrees for 1 hour. Make sure your potatoes are done by piercing them with a fork. If you can easily pierce your potato with a fork and it goes all the way through, then your potatoes are finished cooking. Next, cut a thin layer lengthwise off the top of your potato. Then scoop the insides out into a large bowl. When you're finished, place the potato back on the baking sheet. Then repeat this process with the rest of your potatoes. Now mash the potatoes in the bowl. When you finish mashing your potatoes, mix in 4 tablespoons of butter. Then add 3/4 cup of milk, and 3/4 cup of sour cream. When you finish mixing in the sour cream and milk, add 1 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 teaspoon of pepper, 3/4 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and 1/2 cup of green onions. Once you've added all of your ingredients, mix everything together until well combined. When you're finished, you can start filling the potato shells with the potato filling. When you finish filling your potatoes, all you have to do now is add cheese on top. I'm adding provolone and sharp cheddar cheese. Once you've added your cheese, place your potatoes in the oven at 350 for 15 minutes. Next, we're going to prepare the steak and shrimp. First, we're going to make the steak seasoning. In a small bowl, add 1/2 tablespoon of seasoned salt, 1/2 tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1/8 teaspoon of brown sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper. Mix everything together until well combined and then set your steak seasoning to the side. Next, cut 1 ribeye steak into small bite-sized pieces. When you're finished, place the pieces of steak in a bowl. Then coat the pieces of steak in olive oil. Next, season them with the steak seasoning we prepared before. When you have finished seasoning the pieces of steak, set them to the side. Next, we're going to prepare the shrimp. Place 8 to 9 pieces of shrimp in a bowl. I've already cleaned, deveined, and peeled the shrimp. Next, coat the shrimp in olive oil. Next, season the shrimp however you like. I season my shrimp with pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, Old Bay, and paprika. When you have finished preparing the shrimp, set them to the side. Next, in a large iron skillet over medium heat, add olive oil. When the iron skillet is hot, add half your pieces of steak. The reason we're only adding half is because we're going to cook the pieces of steak in batches. This is so we don't overcrowd the pan. Sear the steak for 1 minute on each side. After searing your pieces of steak, remove them from the pan. And then repeat this process with the rest of the pieces of steak. When you finish searing the steak, add the pieces of steak you cooked before back into the pan. Then add 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter, 2 sprigs of rosemary, and 2 sprigs of thyme. Baste the pieces of steak in the butter and continue to cook it for about 1 to 2 minutes or until it is cooked to your liking. Once the pieces of steak have finished cooking, take them out of the pan and set them to the side. Next, add the shrimp in the pan and cook them for 4 to 5 minutes. Once the shrimp have finished cooking, take them out of the pan. Now that the steak and shrimp have been cooked, we're going to move on and make the creamy garlic sauce. Add 2 tablespoons of butter in the pan. Once the butter has melted, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of garlic. Sauté the garlic for about 1 to 2 minutes. Then add 1½ cups of heavy cream. Let the sauce simmer until it starts to become thick. Once the sauce starts to thicken up, add 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Then mix in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and season to taste. I only added 1/4 teaspoon of pepper to the sauce because I didn't feel like it needed any more seasonings since it already had the leftover seasonings from the pan. The sauce already tasted really good by itself, but like I said before, season to taste. Once you have finished making the garlic sauce, you can go ahead and assemble your baked potato. Your baked potato should have finished cooking in the oven by now, so all you have to do is plate it up. First, add some pieces of steak on top, then add some shrimp, place some broccoli on the side, then add some parsley, and finally pour the garlic sauce on top. And this is the finished result! This was so good. The steak and shrimp were well seasoned and cooked perfectly. The sauce tasted great and made the baked potato even more delicious. Overall, this baked potato was delicious. 10 out of 10 would totally recommend. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everything I used in this video will be down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make Philly cheesesteak garlic bread, so let's get started with the video. We're going to begin by preparing our ingredients. First, thinly slice half a red bell pepper and half a green bell pepper. Then thinly slice half an onion. Next, finely chop some parsley. When you're finished, set your ingredients to the side until you're ready to use them. Now we're going to make some chimichurri, which will go on top of the garlic bread. In a bowl, add 1/3 cup of extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and 1/2 cup of finely chopped parsley. Then whisk everything together until well combined. When you're finished, set the chimichurri to the side. Next, in a large pan over medium heat, add olive oil. Then add your sliced onions and bell peppers. Sauté the peppers and onions until they are nice and tender. When you're finished sautéing your veggies, take them out of the pan and set them to the side. Next, add a bit more olive oil in the pan, and then add 14 ounces of beef shaved steak. Once placed in the pan, break the steak up. Then season the steak with seasoned salt, pepper, and Kinder's Sweet Heat seasoning. You guys have to try this seasoning, it is so good. I'll have it linked in the description. Then continue to cook the steak until it has browned and completely cooked through. Once you finish cooking the steak, add your peppers and onions back into the pan. Next, turn off the heat and set the steak to the side. Now we're going to move on and prepare the garlic bread. First, we're going to make some garlic butter. In a bowl, add 4 tablespoons of softened butter, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and 1/2 tablespoon of finely chopped parsley. Then mix everything together until well combined. Then mix in 1/2 tablespoon of grated Parmesan cheese. Once you finish making your garlic butter, set it to the side. Next, place a loaf of French bread on a cutting board and then cut it in half. Then cut the French bread in half lengthwise. Set the other half of the bread to the side for now. Next, remove a bit of the bread from the center of the loaf. Now spread the garlic butter you prepared before evenly over the bread. Next, add the steak on top. Now add 4 slices of provolone cheese on top of the steak. When you're finished, repeat this process with the other half of French bread. Next, place your garlic bread on a baking sheet lined with tinfoil. Then place the garlic bread in the oven at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. Once they have finished baking in the oven, cut them into slices. After slicing the garlic bread, place it on a plate. Then add the chimichurri on top. And that's it, you are all finished. And this is the finished result. This Philly cheesesteak garlic bread was absolutely delicious. I loved it. The meat was well seasoned and the bread was crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. The chimichurri tasted great on top as well. Definitely a must try. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everything I used in this video will be down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make the viral Chipotle Philly cheesesteak quesadillas with the Chipotle vinaigrette, so let's get started with the video. We're going to begin by making the Chipotle honey vinaigrette. In a blender, add a half a cup of red wine vinegar, a quarter cup of water, a quarter cup of honey, 1 tablespoon of adobo sauce, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 1 teaspoon of oregano. Once you've added all of your ingredients, blend everything until well combined. Next, add 1 cup of a neutral oil. Chipotle uses rice bran oil, but I don't have that, so I'm using vegetable oil. And if you don't want to use vegetable oil, canola oil is also a good substitute for rice bran oil. Once everything is well combined, transfer your vinaigrette into a container. Then set it to the side until you're ready to use it. Next, we're going to prepare the steak. We're going to begin by making the marinade. In a blender, add 1 can of chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, half a red onion, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 4 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of oregano, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now blend everything together for 1 to 2 minutes. Next, add 1 cup of water. Then blend everything together for another 1 to 2 minutes. Next, place a flank steak in a Ziploc bag. Then pour your marinade in the bag. Close the Ziploc bag and make sure that your steak is covered in the marinade. Now place your steak in the fridge for around 2 hours or overnight. After your steak has finished marinating, you can begin cooking it. In a pan over medium-high heat, add some olive oil. Then place the steak in the pan and make sure you place it away from you so none of the oil splashes on you. Once you've placed the steak in the pan, sear it for 3 to 4 minutes. Then flip it over and sear it on the other side for another 3 to 4 minutes. Once you've finished searing your steak, take it out of the pan. Place the steak on a cutting board and then cover it with tin foil and let it rest for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, remove the tin foil and cut your steak into small pieces. When you're finished, place the steak back into the pan and sauté it for 1 minute or until it is cooked to your liking. Once you have finished cooking the steak, take it off the heat and set it to the side. Next, we're going to prepare the fajitas. First, slice half a green bell pepper. Then slice half a red onion. Next, in a pan over medium heat, add olive oil. Then add your bell peppers and onions into the pan. Next, add a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of pepper, and a half a teaspoon of oregano. Sauté the bell peppers and onions for about 3 to 5 minutes or until they are soft but not mushy. When you have finished cooking your veggies, remove them from the pan and set them to the side. Now we can finally begin assembling our quesadilla. First, place a tortilla on a cutting board. Then on one side of the tortilla, add mozzarella cheese. Then add the steak. Next, add your veggies. And finally, add some more cheese on top. Then fold the tortilla. When you have finished assembling your quesadilla, place it in the same pan you cooked your steak. Cook the quesadilla over medium heat until toasted and golden brown on both sides. Once your quesadilla is finished cooking, take it out of the pan, cut it into pieces, and plate it up. And this is the finished result. The quesadilla was delicious and the vinaigrette was so good, it tasted just like the one from Chipotle. The Philly cheesesteak quesadilla has been trending all over TikTok. The trend was started by Alexis Frost and Keith Lee. I'll have their videos linked in the description below. Since the quesadillas went viral, Chipotle has stopped allowing people to order it. However, now you can make it at home or wait until March when it's available on the app. Oh, and don't forget to mix the vinaigrette with the sour cream to enjoy with your quesadilla. By the way, I got the recipe for the Chipotle honey vinaigrette from My Savage Kitchen on TikTok. They used to work at Chipotle, so this recipe is legit and I'll have the link to it in the description. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everything I used in this video will be down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! Hey everyone, today I'll be teaching you how to make surf and turf. We're going to be making some delicious steak, lobster, and mashed potatoes. So let's get started with the video. Begin by letting your steak sit in room temperature for about 20 to 30 minutes. During the 30 minutes, we're going to make a steak rub. In a small bowl, combine half a tablespoon of salt or seasoned salt, half a tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, 1/8 teaspoon white pepper, and finally 1/2 teaspoon of light brown sugar. Mix everything together until well combined. When you're finished, set your rub to the side. Once the 30 minutes are up, you can begin preparing your steak. Rub a bit of olive oil onto your steak. Make sure you rub olive oil onto the entire steak. Now you can add your steak rub. Make sure to add a good amount of the steak rub. Add a bit more before cooking it as well. Make sure you add the rub on each side of the steak, completely covering it. Once you're finished, you can now begin cooking your steak. Heat an iron skillet over medium to low heat. Add some olive oil. When your iron skillet is almost smoking, add your steak to the pan. Make sure you add your steak away from you. You have more control when you're laying it away from you, and you can avoid splashing hot oil on your arms. Cook each side of your steak for 2 minutes.
Ooh, I did it!
After you flip the steak over, add some butter, garlic cloves, and thyme to your pan. If you want, you could also rub the garlic clove on your steak for flavor. Then, baste your steak using the melted butter in the pan. When you finish cooking each side of the steak for 2 minutes, place it in the oven at 375 degrees for 6 to 7 minutes. Once your steak is finished cooking, take it out of the pan and let it rest. If you let your steak rest, it becomes juicier. Now we're going to move on to the lobster. Cut the top of the lobster tail open. You just need to cut straight across the center. Then, carefully peel back the shell without breaking it and pull out your lobster tail meat. Once you've pulled out the lobster tail without detaching it from the shell, rinse it off and clean it, and make sure to check for any veins in the lobster meat. Place your lobster meat on a tinfoil covered baking sheet. Brush melted butter on top of your lobster tail. Then add your seasonings. The seasonings I added were pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, Old Bay, crushed red pepper flakes, and paprika. Add a bit more butter on top, and then place into the oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes. Up next, we're going to be making our mashed potatoes. Clean 2 potatoes thoroughly. Pierce holes in each potato. Cover each potato in plastic wrap. Then place it in a microwave-safe dish and cook it for about 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes are up, flip it over and cook it for another 3 minutes. After that, wrap your potato in tin foil. Then, let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. This method is supposed to make the potatoes super light and fluffy. Once the 10 to 15 minutes are up, go ahead and cut your potato open and place the insides inside a bowl. Using a potato masher, mash your potatoes. Then add 3 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a half a cup of heavy cream, a 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1 ounce of cream cheese, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Then mix everything until well combined. And that's it, you are all finished. Now just plate everything together. And this is the final result. I'm so proud of my steak. This was my first time making steak and I'm really glad it came out well. I mixed softened butter with some minced garlic in a bowl and added it on top of my steak. And then I also had a side of garlic butter for the lobster. Truth be told, I burnt the first steak I made. This is actually my second attempt. I had to ask my brother for help because he's actually made steaks and he knows what to do. He gave me a lot of good pointers and that's why my steak came out so well this time. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Everything I used in the video will be down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! I think I burnt the steak. Yeah, I turned it down. It's fine. Everything's fine.